All right, Jesse, round 21 is in the books. And what do we do on this podcast? We talk about the games that happened. There were 9 of them, as there usually are, unless it's one of those funky rounds. Let us know your thoughts on the round that was at CMPerfect_AFL on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and Amazon. We're all over the place. Jesse, how would you find the round of footy?
Interesting. We're starting to really get a squeeze in the top 9, and I'm introducing a blanket rule for this podcast, Liam.
Okay.
All 9 teams in the finals hunt at the moment can win the premiership. And we're not doing these ones can, these ones can't. While we're in the state that we're in right now, it's all live ball. I mean, really, the top 4 isn't far from being set in itself.
No.
So you could be talking about the Giants, who are 8th and got flogged, still getting a double chance, and even potentially a home final if things go really off the deep end. You know, there's a lot still to play out. So let's pause on declaring this team can, this team can't win the premiership. If they're in that top 9 right now, they can.
That's a fair shout, Jesse. I mean, it's a very, very top. I mean, the chasm, we've spoken about the chasm this year, but the chasm now is like, it's fascinating to see how close the top is and just how far away. I think maybe.
It's galactical, isn't it now?
It's galactical. Sydney might have saved it a little bit.
No, because they're still quite bad.
Well, it's true, but I mean, it's not as dire as some of the other teams down the bottom,
that is
obviously. But we'll kick off with Thursday night footy at Marvel Stadium. The Bulldogs, 19-18-132, destroying the Giants, 6-8-44, and what I thought was going to be quite a competitive and, feisty game of football turned out to be an absolute shellacking, Jesse.
Yeah, this is poor. Poor for the Giants. Significant for the Dogs for more than one reason. Obviously, they need to keep winning to get themselves in the hunt for a top 8 spot, and they'll be bemused that they're sitting outside the 8 with a percentage of 137.
It's quite crazy that they're sitting in that spot. It's crazy.
But they beat a top 8 side. They've obviously struggled with that for a big swath of the season as things have gone on. They did it in such easy fashion. The Giants do have this performance in them, though.
Yeah.
And we've seen that a couple of times this season where they've just ceased to function as a football side.
There's no other way to put it, really.
Well, it's a worry. I still think the Giants will find a way to be in the finals, although I'm a lot less confident about that than I was 7 days ago when we did this last week. But, they still got it in them. They were coming in off 4 wins on the bounce, so this was just a complete and utter collapse.
Just a blip?
A 3-hour collapse. I think it's more than a blip. You have to call it what it is. It's a bad result for the Giants. But, we've seen them in previous weeks play some very good football. I mean, they beat Geelong. That's a huge win in that regard. They destroyed Sydney, who were still, at that point, had the lights on for a finals campaign, having had a terrible first half in that, but they never got going at all here on Thursday night. They were miles off the pace.
Yeah, it's a testament to the Dogs, though. The Dogs absolutely run roughshod, and their forward line is just formidable. It is absolutely formidable. It's probably between the Dogs and the Crows for the 2 most formidable, and the percentage speaks for itself, really, between those 2 teams. But English, Norton, Darcy. English had a great game. I feel like I haven't spoken about Tim English much this year. He had a blinder. He did. Norton's doing great. I think we spoke about it in our little deep dive earlier, how having Darcy there to kind of take that pressure off him has just let him go absolutely bananas. And I think it's proof is in the pudding now that this combination does work better than Jamara. Obviously, we don't think he's coming back, but this is an absolute masterclass, Jesse. What do you reckon?
I think it's moved on. And I think it's a credit to Luke Beveridge and to Sam Darcy and to the Dogs playing group that they have been able to paper over that pretty significant crack. So, I mean, Jamara was top 10 in the Coleman last year. That's a big, you take that out of the team. Look at Essendon. Essendon took out Stringer, who I think was 11th last year, and they've been horrible up forward. Not the case for the Dogs. Have arguably been better. In fact, they've got the most points of any side in the competition in season 2025, and they're not even in the top 8.
It is nuts. It is nuts. Hopefully that percentage will come back and salvage something for them coming in. And like I say every week, hopefully not at the behest of Freo. But very possible. Very possible. Jesse, anything more to add about Thursday night footy before we move on to?
Well, Norton and Darcy land, they combined for 65 points.
Oh, they did,
between
Jesse.
them, which was better than 4 teams in across the round, and a drew with a further 2. We like this little niche stat when we have 2 Twin Towers just go ballistic and just dominate for a side, and they've done that here.
And the other 3, there was other 3 teams that they weren't too far off either.
No.
Obviously, you like to take the rest of the team into consideration when feeding the ball into them, but I mean, the scoring has kind of been tops and tails this year. So it's either like a massive one or like 44. Oh, this is not even the worst performance of the round.
No.
Oh, my word. Oh, my word. But good stat, Jesse. Very well done. Let's move on to Friday Night Footy. Now, this was better. This is better. The Adelaide Crows 15-11, 101, getting it done over the Hawthorn Hawks 13-9, 87 in the game that was probably more befitting of two teams fighting for finals, Jesse.
I would say so, and they brought the heavy weaponry, didn't they? These two teams, and they had a good old fashioned war on the Adelaide Oval turf for 3 hours, and I think it was great. I think this is the perfect advertisement for football in 2025. It was slick, it was hard hitting, and it was very skillful. And I think we saw two sides, and this is going to mean nothing if Hawthorn do end up sliding out of the finals, but we saw the fact that Hawthorn can go with the teams that are right in the top of that frame. For a premiership. I think Hawthorn can absolutely win the premiership in 2025. I would not be writing them off just yet. They'll be disappointed to have lost this game. This game was within their grips to win, and they let it go, which is a big disappointment for them. Losing Will Day for the rest of the season is a critical blow for Hawthorn, but they can still take some solace out of that.
They can. I mean, Dawson leading from a front as he usually does. Rankin was always fantastic and pivotal for the Crows in the times that mattered. But this kid, Dan Curtin, like, I've got a soft spot for Murphy Reid for Freo, rising star. But I mean, it's hard to argue that Curtin's not putting up something that's going to be representative of the rising star for this year. 45% disposal officially doesn't do him any favors, but hey, he has a presence in this Adelaide side for a first year player, right? Second year player.
But he didn't play much last year, so he's that's really appeared this year.
You know me, Jesse. I keep getting this rising star thing confused, like it's the first.
Oh, it's the most ridiculously adjudicated award in world sport. I think you'd honestly be better off doing the best third choice goalkeeper of the year award in the AFL Championship. Like, honestly, give me rising star can get in the bin. Should be best first year player, best second year player. Move on with your life.
But no, he's putting up a massive case. We see his name on this best of every single week, and he's doing all right, Jesse. Anything else to add about this one before we tick on to Saturday?
Impey's putting together quietly an All-Australian season.
Yeah, I mean, he's been good off halfback, hasn't he?
He's been very good off halfback.
Very, very, very good. And yeah, obviously Day's a massive blow, but hopefully not too bad. I watched some of the shows, Jesse. The little media shows that AFL
I'm sorry
put out.
you do that.
I know, but sometimes
honestly, I try not to.
I know
because I can only save my love of the content for watching this show back, because why would I watch anything else?
Yeah, good shout. I won't say anything else, Jesse. No. But it was interesting to see how much weight they put into Day and his injury and their chances. But I mean, as we saw with Freo and Hayden Young, an injury is an injury. And if you've got the goods in the back and if you've got that depth, hopefully it shouldn't be too much of an issue. Let's move on, Jesse. What's that? Next man up. That's it. All right, let's move on to Saturday. I nearly said at the MCG, because why wouldn't it be? It's Melbourne at Marvel Stadium. Melbourne Demons 21-13, 139, defeating the West Coast Eagles 8-8-56. I tipped the Eagles. That was silly, wasn't it? Jesse, what are your thoughts on this one? You watched this game.
I did.
I started listening to it on the radio. Got about 5 minutes in. I thought, nah.
I am meant to have a weekend.
Uh-huh.
And then I'm like, oh yeah, a weekend of footy sounds great. And then I get this. Look, I mean, I don't even know where to begin with this. West Coast now 1-19 in season 2025. They've actually gotten worse as the season's gone on in terms of the losses they've been pouring. So you're talking your Giants loss, your Tigers loss, and your Melbourne loss. That's 3 of their last 5 games. I think we're talking there. I'm happy to fact check that. Yep, Giants. Yep, all within their last 5. They were okay. They were pretty good against Port. They survived for the first half against Fremantle and then were chipped away at pretty comprehensively. But this was, for all the talk about let's have team 19, let's have team 20, let's sort out team number 18 first.
Yeah.
And right now, I mean, West Coast in many ways had themselves to blame for being in this position.
Yeah, they do.
But, I mean, we've all seen the clip of Duggan lace out Petrarca from a kick-in when Petrarca's standing 10 metres away from the nearest Eagle. It's just not acceptable. Yeah. Like, Kelly had a good game for him this season. He certainly looks better, but, I mean, they're just so far off the pace. Reid and Shanahan competed really well as key forwards. but there's just nothing here. And without Harley, they look completely sparkless. And
Yeah.
if you take out, so say take out Wanganimula out of St Kilda, you put them in this day and say, right, watch your teammates play. You'd be starting to wonder, gee, what am I actually signing up for here? And for all the stick that Harley gets across the board, it's not his fault that the guys around him struggle with basic skills. Why was Matt Flynn dropped? Well, Max Gorn was always going to be a presence in this game, and was clearly best on ground, and he's almost certainly going to get 3 brown votes out of this. It's a worry. The tide will turn for West Coast. They are too big of a club for that not to happen. But we were expecting a lot more this season. Even if a lot more was 4 wins, we've actually seen a step backwards, and I don't think many people had that on their bingo card.
No. And they're getting comprehensively beaten everywhere, Jesse. I mean, this game, under 74 less disposals, 9 tackles less.
So that's just not good enough.
No, it's not. And negative 20 for inside 50 tackles. So there's no forward pressure. There's like you can be bad, Jesse, but then there's the heart. You still see bad teams have heart. I mean, Richmond for the most part this year have heart. North Melbourne have heart. But outside of, and Marich and Ginby, crikey Moses, those two seem to be 2 players who try and put their all in, but it gets to a point where it's exhausting for them as well. It's like, well, if no one else is trying.
The 3 best players you put in there is an undersized key and 2 medium defenders, which really tells you all you need to know about West Coast on Saturday, because that's where the ball was for 80% of the game, is what it felt like.
Yep. Yeah, but a good win for Melbourne. They needed that one. So I thought they might just absolutely capitulate, but they didn't.
That was a risk, and they deserve credit for that. Langford didn't make your best Liam, but he looks like a really promising player. Melbourne tricking Essendon into trading out of last year's draft and into this year's draft so that Melbourne could take Lindsay and Langford. That could be studied as a case study for how to list manage correctly, because Essendon are going to get to this year and say, oh no. Oh dear.
Oh dear. Oh no. All right, let's move on. We have to talk about this one, Jesse. Oh dear. All right, so at People First Stadium, the Suns 16-11, 107 defeating the Richmond Tigers. 2 goals, 11-23. Oh, look.
And one of those goals was in the last 90 seconds of the game.
It was. It's the lowest score in AFL since Adelaide managed 21 in 2021. It's been a minute since we've seen a score this low. We can't say too much as Freo supporters. We've got the lowest score record in the modern day game, I'm pretty sure, so we can't say too much. But, I mean, look, in the Suns weren't that far ahead in the third quarter. Like, I think it was like 43 points they were at, and that is stacked on in the second half.
Which you want to say, I do wonder what Dimmer said at 3/4 time against his former team. Maybe just put a little bit of hundreds of thousands on this fairy bread for me and just really lay it on a bit thick. But I mean, they were dominant, and you want to see that. But you want to see teams that are going into a potential finals campaign for the first time execute across 4 quarters, because you're not always going to have a game against a Richmond or a North or a West Coast or whoever where you just get to dominate. And they've dominated West Coast, they've dominated Richmond. They've beaten up on the bad sides this year, but they've also beaten good teams too. And the margin's not too dissimilar to what they beat the Lions by a week prior.
True.
So you've got to really give them the credit for this, that they're building something here. I think really they're a lot better at their best than a few teams ahead of them. I think they're a better side than Fremantle, and yet they're a position behind them on the ladder. So they've had a few heebie-jeebies they've got to get out of their game, but they also have that game in hand. So it's all a lot of swings and roundabouts, but it's swinging in the right direction for the Suns.
You don't want to put too much weight on a game that hasn't happened, but I reckon they're net ahead of Freo right now.
I mean, that's a gift, isn't it? They would have to physically not be at the ground to lose to the Bombers. Hey,
stranger things have happened when you're trying to get to the finals, Jesse. All right, not too much more to add to this one, I wouldn't say, but just in case, I'll ask you.
It's tough. These losses were expected for Richmond. I still think they've had more highs than they probably expected coming into 2025. So stick fat Tigers fans. The rebuild is looking good. You got 2 first-rounders this year, very high first-rounders this year for that matter. Mm-hmm. I think you'll be fine.
They'll be okay. Always bound to happen. Let's move on to the next one. We've got Sydney Swans 9-14-68, defeating the Prime Time Bombers 7-12-54. Yeah, that's still prime time because it was Saturday Night Football, wasn't it? Or was it afternoon? Doesn't matter. Prime Time Bombers.
What's worse than the boring Bombers, Liam?
What is worse than the boring Bombers, Jesse?
The boring Swans playing the boring Bombers and me watching it for 3 hours of my life.
I'm glad someone did.
Well, not many locals went to the game. Well, I thought it was at NG for half of it. Could have fooled me, apart from the awful condition of the surface.
Well, look, I'll take your word for it, Jesse, because I didn't see any of this one. I will put my hand on heart and say I did not see this game. 20,000 is very low for the SCG.
So not only do I have to sit through, I have to carry the conversation about it. Really a lose-lose proposition here. Look, I mean, it's 4 points for the Swans. Hooray. Does anyone want to ever speak of this game again from a Sydney perspective? Not really. Brodie Grundy was...
I was going to say, one guy might.
Unfathomably good. Beating up on an old man and a mid-season draftee. Hooray, someone's got to do it. But look, I mean, this Sydney team for me, even with their key players back, which is what the whole excuse was when they were bad at the start of the season, they're still not very good. And I think there's one man you could put that at the feet of. It's not Brodie Grundy. Grundy puts it at the feet of his teammates, but you need to put the blame on this one at Dean Cox. He's not that guy, and it's okay. And it's okay for this to be a wrong appointment, but they've got to act on it.
Yeah, they won't. But we'll see. Maybe look, strange. Maybe they'll surprise us all, Jesse, and be like, "Oh, sorry, Dean. Look, we gave it a crack. Didn't work out."
They've won 3 of their last 4. They beat Fremantle, the only side to beat a top 9 team in the last 34 games. That's the only result that went against the top 9. They squeaked home past St Kilda, who were 14th.
Mm-hmm.
They beat North, who were 17th and are bad. They were thumped by their crosstown rivals after leading for the first half and then going home.
Oh, yeah, that was bad.
And then they've beaten the Bombers, who are 15th, but are bad by 2 goals.
Well, look, we'll put our flowers all on Brodie Grundy's hat then. I mean, because he only had less than 20 disposals twice, and both since round 9. And in
which is a serious stat line. Like, I mean, where would they be without him?
Yeah, we had 39 touches. When was the last time a real ruckman, did that? I asked you this question outside the pod, and you were like, Adam Goods when he was that ruck. I was like, that doesn't count, surely.
I reckon I didn't fact check that, but I reckon Goods in 03 would have had at least one game up there when he was de facto ruck.
All right, we'll count it. Fine. It's all Sydney. It's all good. Let's move on to the next game. Jesse, the Collingwood Magpies, 10-5-65, going down to the Lions, 14-8-92, who break their MCG curse and their hoodoo over against Collingwood. I'm not sure if I said the score. 14-8-92. Probably did. I've said it twice. Now you know.
Reinforce the point for our podcast listeners.
Exactly right. Guys, I'm not sure if you heard. 14-8-92 for the Lions.
I'd love it as one of the scores you stuffed up as well. It was just complete misinformation. Look, Collingwood now with 2 wins in their last 5, losing to 3 top 8 teams as well in there. So look, I try to be a bit equivocal. Like, I don't mind it when they drop games to weird teams. Like if they dropped a game to a Port or even a Melbourne, you'd be like, okay, that's obviously bad, but they're not going to play them in finals. They'll likely have to play one of Gold Coast, Fremantle, Brisbane, somewhere in a final series. If they get to a grand final, I doubt there's a path that gets them outside of all 3 of those teams, whether or not all 3 of those teams actually make the finals at all. More specifically talking Gold Coast and Freo there. But yeah, this is a potential problem. Hawthorn next week is going to be a real litmus test for both sides. But Brisbane, when they stood up head and shoulders here when it mattered, and firmly announced the fact that they're not going away after a disappointing G-Clash with a big win.
Yes, it was kind of emphatic in a way. It almost ended up being very comfortable. It was built on the back of a really strong third quarter. Also, Neil 11 touches, McCluggage had 12, Ashcroft had 10, Dunkley had 10.
That was Levi Ashcroft that had 10.
Levi Ashcroft had 10.
Yeah.
The wee man. Very good. I mean, look, it just goes to show, like, they lifted in this game, and they can do that. And that's what all good teams do, and especially one who they got gears, and they're chasing their second premiership in a row. You've got to have gears if you're doing that. But it was like I was watching this game, and it felt to me like that the Lions were in full control, and I'm not worried about Collingwood.
No, it's too early. It's too early to worry about Collingwood.
But there's a part of me who's kind of like, they're kind of on the verge of potentially slipping out. Like a few big games coming up, slipping out of the top 4, which could be a huge blow for a team that's literally spent 95% of this season in first place.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's. I'm not saying it's time to worry about Collingwood, but you can't ignore the fact they've lost 3 games to fellow contenders in a month.
Yeah.
And if they lose again to the Hawks, that's 4 and 5 weeks, and they go from being 11-2 to 15-6.
Yeah.
That can't be right. 14-2 to 15-6.
Yeah. I would have believed you, Jesse. You know me.
That was nowhere near correct. 14-2 to 15-6.
You're a man of integrity. I like that. Short's had a good game. I like seeing Shooter play well. He's got some fire, that kid. Nick Dacos was great, so I bought him as always. But yeah, the aforementioned Lions just kind of ran away with it, which is nice to see. Anything else to add, Jesse, before we move on to the...
Great crowd. Great crowd.
82,000. Thank you very much. Second best crowd of the round, and not by numbers, just by sheer want to be there. All right, we'll move on to the next game, Jesse. On Sunday, the Saints 11-12-72 getting it done over the Kangaroos 10-9-69. What was a very, very competitive affair.
Can I ask you a question, Liam?
Ask away, Jesse.
Do you, in your templates for these games that you do, does yours have like Wangan and Miller automatically fixed into St Kilda's best every week? Because honestly, you could save yourself 18 seconds of editing time. And it's not it's a short name either.
No, I have to abbreviate it because it's, as you can see, the best barely fits in there anyway. No, he's good, isn't he? Like even when this game was in the clutches, like there was a goal after the siren that made the margin a little bit longer, but it was.
So your score's actually wrong there, Liam.
Oh shit! What is it?
It is. Yeah, where's St Kilda? 78-69.
There we go, 78-69. We're not gonna redo that, Jesse. I'll just fix it in post. That's fine because this is the score before they kick the goal. No, look, scores aside, I think the
a key metric of the game. Let's ignore that. Irrelevant.
Yeah, Jesse, is this the right team winning in the current score that I've got on the screen that now people who are watching this will not see?
Okay. The more you try to justify it, the more I'm going to bury you for putting the wrong score for our YouTube viewers. And this is on the first
I was having such a good run. Jesse. That's all right. I'll fix it now. All right. So there we go. Score's correct now. McKercher was great for the Kangas. Sheezer was great. Zerha was fantastic. But going back to Wangan and Miller really quickly, he popped up right at the death when it looked like North were pushing towards that final goal, try and sneak the win. And he just came out of nowhere. It's like he just transported.
I'm convinced he's got a tunnel under the surface at Marvel that he just appear out of.
Oh man, I just keep thinking to myself, like, and by the way, not a bad little crowd. If that's correct, no, we'll move on from the crowd in case it's wrong.
We'll give you the benefit of the doubt.
But look, this is what you want from two teams at the bottom of the table, still actually giving it a crack.
You want them to compete.
You want them to compete, and that they did. Talk about the game, Jesse.
Well, it was even. North got the jump, then St Kilda took control. With then North having one late rally. They'll be disappointed they couldn't get over the line because they had the ball down there. They had the ball down there very late and had an opportunity late. They couldn't quite get it done. Wangan Miller, what needs to be said? He's an absolute freak of a footballer. Every week that goes by that he doesn't sign that contract, warning, we're now in August, Liam. He's not re-signed. I still think there's a real prospect he does leave. My worry is if he was ever going to re-sign, it would be off the back of that Melbourne game, and he didn't.
Maybe he's just trying to get a bit more cash, Jesse.
Well, there's apparently St Kilda up to 1.5 mil a season, which is still less than Deconing, which is just insanity.
Yeah. I think they're going to have to chuck the book at him, Jesse. They're going to have to.
This guy's a $2 million a season player, and it's not even up for debate.
Yeah. All right, well, let's move on from that cluster cuss of a game. We'll fix that up later. Let's move on to the second last game of the round. Geelong at GMHBA Stadium, 23, mind you, 15, 153, defeating the Power 9, 11-65. It's kind of close at the start. We're both looking at our scores as we were sitting in the freezing cold at the footy, going, oh, that's quite close. And then all of a sudden, all is right with the world.
And then all of a sudden, Geelong. And Jeremy Cameron specifically.
Well.
And also Max Holmes.
But on the road to 100, Jesse, can he get there? Jeremy Cameron.
I'm getting a bit tired of it because, it's not the 90s anymore, and that's going to be hard to do.
Yeah.
It's nice to have something to look forward to. And look, Geelong needs some kind of narrative in their games. He actually might get there this week.
Yeah.
If I was Fred Fanning, or at least his family, Fred's no longer with us, but if I was his family, I'd be worried that my record since 1947 for most goals in the game of AFL football is going to be toppled because Essendon, Jeremy Cameron, Essendon, Jeremy Cameron. Can Jeremy Cameron outscore Essendon?
Yeah.
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 Do I really want to say that?
Kind
Yeah.
of. Yeah.
Do I want to stop talking about him maybe getting a ton? Yeah.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah. I actually heard a commentator on the weekend start talking about finals. I'm like, no, you can't do that. It doesn't include
yes,
the
you
finals.
can, though, because the records are for most VFL AFL goals in a season. So, yes,
right.
you can.
I always thought it was main season only.
No, because otherwise Pratt and Hudson's record at 150 wouldn't stand.
Scratch him out, Jesse.
No.
Oh, fair enough.
Don't
All
you
right.
dare.
You can go listen to our
That
video on
record's
Hudson,
90,
actually.
90 years old, you peanut. Changing
Go
it
listen,
now.
go listen to our video. We did one on Peter Hudson.
Liam's going to put it in the description. And then I'm going to get really cross if I click on this on Tuesday and it's not in there. So put it in the description, Liam, so people can access it.
Look, Porter out of the finals race, Jesse. I will do that. Porter out of the finals race, but Broken Wines, most productivity in the disposal count. It's win now numbers. Are they? Yeah. Is this rebuild happening? What's going on?
Well, it's a worry. It's not a worry in the sense that Broken Wines are still good. That in itself is a good thing.
That's good.
Yeah, but if you're Port in terms of list management, which we've talked about a lot in this episode, Liam, you're concerned about this because obviously Rosita laid out, but Butters had a shocker, completely gloved by Oisin Mullen, who really would have a case to be in that best for Geelong himself. It's a concern because Boak's 36, Wines is 30, I want to say 30, 31. He's in that bracket. He's definitely with a 3 in front of his age at this point. I mean, they're both guns. Wines has won around the medal. Boak's been one of the best players in the competition for a number of times, but he's now 7th all time in games. He's still one of your best on ground. That's a credit to him, but you're not winning games at the moment. So what's the point except for more games on the game's record numbers?
Don't know. Don't know. It's funny
Very
season.
Insightful, Liam.
I know. Well, it was a good point, Jesse. What's to add? But it's been a funny old season for Port because, like you've said it many times, like the list is very good, and
I do like this list.
Yeah, it's a good list, and like, oh god, imagine if they did get Isaiah. My god, that would be insane. But it's just been a bit of a rubbish year for the power. It'll be interesting to see how the transition goes into Josh Carr, but I don't know. I think enough to be said about them.
I think we have to start calling that the merge, don't we?
The merging.
Yeah, well, Carr.
Let's do it, Jesse. Let's coin a phrase. This is the merge. The merge from Ken.
There's no succession plan. It's just a zip merge.
I love it.
And right now, Ken's not put his indicator on.
Yeah.
And all the drivers are getting really cross going into Alberton saying, merge. I'm not going to say the word that they probably would be saying, but we'll say silly goose as a substitute. Merge, you silly goose head. Now.
He'll be there just stuffing his face full of smiles, candies.
Coke Zero.
And Coke Zero. He loves it.
I'm thirsty.
One more
silly goose heads. He says back in rage.
Giving them the thumbs up. One more game, Jesse. Let's move on. Crikey Moses. This always happens with our pod. Towards the end of it, we're just like losing all control of
I haven't had much sugar today.
Oh.
So that means crash.
All right. Well, one more game to go. And it was this one, 15-4-94 to the Dockers, getting over the Carlton Blues 10-7-67 in what was, Jesse, and I'll credit the 40,000 nearly who came to this game because the weather was flippin' atrocious.
It was silly goose and atrocious.
It was silly goose and atrocious. Fudging atrocious. Atrocious. I don't think I've ever been at a game of football, Jesse, where I've been sitting in my seat and I felt like there's been a tornado being ripped through. The goalposts were going left to right like no one's business. And thankfully, it was like only for parts of the second quarter and then a little bit scattered through. But that second quarter was mental.
I've been to games where there's been torrential rain. I remember a Fremantle Brisbane game in about 2009 at Subiaco where we were underwater for 3 hours. Mm-hmm. But in terms of weather events, nothing has been more unusual for me than Sunday afternoon football that we saw here. This was a weird game to be at.
I did try and watch it back on the replay to see if it captured. It does not capture.
Didn't do it justice.
It does not capture just how crazy that was. But enough about the weather. Good win for Freo. They were challenged by the undermanned Blues for half a footy.
They were beaten. They were beaten by the undermanned Blues for half a footy. Soundly beaten.
Soundly beaten. And we were sitting there, reminiscing about the Essendon game from last year, where we just started the capitulation leading into the finals. But this is the Dockers of the new, not the Dockers of old. And they were able to turn it around, win a game of football. We say Freo are a momentum team, and they are. And the Freo of old would have just literally stopped in their tracks as soon as they started getting down. But there's a little bit of energy about this younger team that's not allowing that to happen, which is very, very nice to see. But no, credit to Carlton because that first half, I think Hewitt had 26 touches by half time. He was just like absolutely chopping it up. Cripps had his probably best game of the year, I'd probably say.
Easily, yeah.
Easily.
I played him into form by saying he should retire.
Yes, you did. It's all your fault, Jesse.
So you're almost welcome, Fremantle.
But no, it was after half time, and I think this says something because obviously you don't get many stats for this, but you can't underestimate or underplay how important O'Meara was in this game because he took that tag off Caleb to let him run, and maybe didn't get the touches to kind of go along with that, but he was a huge catalyst in getting Freo up and going when they were not up and going. Him, Tracy. Jackson, Voss is always a burst of energy.
I think Voss is one of the 5 most important players in this team.
Yeah,
I really do. If not, I would love it if he would stop being so Patrick Voss-like at times. But you know what? I'd almost say don't mess with the formula. We just don't need him suspended because if he does get suspended, we're in huge trouble because what he allows that forward line to do is have each other's distinct spaces, leading patterns, and options. It's so important for Fremantle that Patrick Voss stays in this team. This team can go deep into finals with that 3-prong forward line. It cannot go deep into finals with 2. So that's all of them. Jai goes down, problem. Tracy goes down, huge problem. Voss goes down, huge problem. It's an issue regardless. Back to O'Meara Lamb. Goes to Hewitt at halftime. Hewitt's had 25 touches. I don't think he went with him at halftime. Maybe coming out of the races. Didn't go down into the huddle with Vossi and everyone. So comes out at end of halftime, goes to Hewitt. Starts getting more ball himself. Gives Hewitt to 11 touches after having 25 in the first half. We know Carlton are stoppers in the second half. We've seen that all season. But that was a huge difference.
Yeah, massive move. And a good coaching tactic there by one Justin Longmuir.
Well, it only took a half and a guy getting 25 touches to figure out, hey, maybe let's send someone who knows what they're doing to him instead of letting him wander around uncontested at stoppages, which he was doing on multiple occasions in the first half.
Look, and credit to both teams, deadly accurate in that weather as well.
Oh, yeah, that was unbelievable. I couldn't believe Carlton went into halftime with that one behind.
Yeah.
8 goals, 1 at half, 7 goals, 1 or 8 goals, 1 at halftime. Just thinking, how are they doing this?
I know.
Of course they are. Of course they're doing this. It's Carlton against Fremantle in the 2020s. Of course they are.
Yeah, that wind was swirling. But both teams read it perfectly. I mean, Tracy had a kick that was amazing. Jai had one that kind of started out right and just went, no, thank you very much. Yep. Came back in. Lovely.
Can we talk about the glaring issue that no one else is talking about?
The lazy blues?
Well, you have something. You bring up your thing, then I'll bring up mine.
Oh, there's a different thing?
I don't know what you're talking about, so.
Well, it's fair enough. Negative 38 and 1% is the Blues in the last month of footy.
Oh.
Yeah. It's a lack of intent. I mean, but I say lack of intent, but they were pretty intentful in the first half, but then, I don't know.
Are they downhill scares, Liam, but yet they're in 13th?
Well, they might be. I mean, but it's
not much snow to go further beyond. You love your Japan, Liam. There's not much snow to go at the bottom of Mount Fuji. No. You have to go up to the top.
You do.
And then ski down. But at 13th, you're probably skiing into the lodge.
Well, which is fine if you're done for the day, but not at the start, Jesse. Not at the start. But what's the issue you were talking about?
Luke Rye's not best 22 anymore.
Oh, okay. Look, he didn't have a great game.
Well, put it this way. Fremantle won, including the last quarter. So this didn't matter. But on 3 occasions, in the start of the first quarter, the start of the last quarter when his game was in the balance, Ryan's direct opponent took an uncontested mark with him wandering behind. Mm-hmm. I don't care that he's a good kicker of the football. If you're in a back 6, especially as a not undersized defender, so guys like Nick Dacos, guys like McKercher, whatever, they can get away with this. Ryan can't. He has to be accountable. And when you get torched by like relative rookies like Ashton Moyer, it's time to start considering, what do we do with you?
Do you know what I think it is, Jesse? Because we won't talk about it too much longer because we should wrap this up.
We should.
But I think his speed is just gone.
And Clark's a better distributor anyway. I'd rather Walker come back in for Ryan and just put Ryan at Peel.
Yeah. Fair enough, Jesse. Your thoughts are always welcome here. As are yours, dear listener.
Well, it's half of my show, so I'd be very concerned if they weren't.
It's 3/4 your show, my friend. That's very true. But no, that's it for the show, everyone. Thanks for listening. Jesse, send the lovely people home.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to the Centimetre Perfect AFL podcast. If you're enjoying what you're seeing on YouTube, a like, a share, and a subscribe is much appreciated on a preferred podcasting platform. If you are over there, a review never goes amiss. But the best type of review you can give us is word of mouth. So tell your friends, tell your family, get on the local Bureau of Meteorology and send it across all the storm warnings in Perth on Sunday, because it was every single news station had a storm warning on. Make sure you tune into this storm weather service for more, and also the Centimetre Perfect AFL podcast. You might not be storm safe, but you will be football queued up. Until next week, I'm Jesse Dart. That's Liam. Enjoy your footy weekend, and we'll see you again on the Centimetre Perfect AFL podcast.
Bye, everybody.